CAN 22 Heavy, turn right at 10, Dax with Mike, contact ground.
I got movement back there, but I can't shoot yet.
Welcome to the Real Freedom Podcast. As you guys know, we do a lot with our military and retired military folks, but I would love to introduce to the Real Freedom family, Rich Daugherty, who is a retired firefighter. I'll let him speak for himself, but welcome, Rich. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Nice to see you, Gene, and thank you for that warm welcome. I'm very excited to be part of this team and what Reeling Freedom's all about. And that is taking our veterans and first responders out on the water and having a good time and getting their mind off of everything they've endured and enjoying Florida and the great outdoors.
That's right. A little bit of history. I met Rich here at a Tunnel to Towers event, actually. And it was a blessing because he's full of energy. He's going to bring our first responder community to this, which we haven't done a very good job of. We always advertise that it's uniformed members, first responders, and military community. But you are our first responder guy, and if you could tell us a little bit about your organization, where you come from. You have a nonprofit called Fish Responders, or a business. Tell us about your experience as a first responder.
Okay, so basically, I was a full-time firefighter, paramedic, and a rescue diver for approximately 20-something years in Massachusetts, as you could tell by the accent. And I've fished just like everybody else has. I've fished since I was a little kid, and then it became an addiction. And then one day I found myself on the Bass Pro Tour for a few years. And then I was blessed and had my son, Trenton, and couldn't afford to do that anymore. And so I kind of took a back seat, followed my career. I've always been coming to Florida for the last 40 years to this area. And I came down and I started Fish Responders Charters. And in doing so, I made it a mission of getting involved with Tunnel to Towers, the local Trinity chapter, and just taking first responders out on the water. And then, like you said, Gene, I met you at a Tunnel to Towers event, and now we're just consolidating all our avenues into one, and I think this is going to be a great thing.
The things we do at Real Freedom, we always talk about giving back to our community, our uniform community, and one of the things we have been lacking is getting to our first responder family. That's why we brought Rich on board. And today we have a couple of awesome guests, Michelle and Chris from Beyond the Badge. We'll let them talk about their nonprofits, and Blake Stennett, who's actually still a full-time firefighter with Next Rung. But without further ado, Michelle and Chris, if you want to introduce yourselves and talk about your organization and how you got here, we'd love to hear from you.
Sure. So good evening, everybody. I am Michelle Panetta. This is my husband, Chris Panetta. We are the co-founders of Beyond the Badge New York. We started Beyond the Badge in 2019. Chris's childhood friend, who is a fellow police officer with him, had died by suicide, and we wanted to ultimately break the stigma surrounding officers coming forward for mental health treatment. I am a retired probation officer. Chris is a retired detective. So we kind of set out on this journey to really allow officers the ability to come forward, get the help that they deserve without the stigma and the fears of having repercussions come against them by the job. So, like we said, Chris and I in 2019 kind of saw the effects of what was happening. We lost 11 officers in 2018 to suicide. So it was a problem that always existed. We always knew that, suicide was something that the first responder community dealt with, but 2018 was definitely the forefront of where we realized that there was a greater problem and a greater need for what we do. So yes, everybody at Beyond the Badge New York is actually an active or retired police officer, which is kind of what makes us a little unique, but what kind of everybody also loves about us, because at the end of the day, we understand the struggles that a lot of people are going through because we are literally living the struggles every single day, at work. So it's definitely a positive when you are out there in the thick of it to be able to help your fellow officer and your fellow first responder.
Yeah, and one of the greatest things about doing nonprofits like this is there's a surfeit amount of help now. Organizations like yours, Beyond the Badge and Reeling Freedom. I think people are really starting to realize that there are people out there willing to help. Biggest problems we have at Reeling Freedom, we've dealt with several suicides very close and personal among family and friends, is trying to, how do you as an organization identify those that might need, because when people are thinking about something as serious as that, they're not going to reach out for help, so how do you get, we want to get the message out there and try to give the early warning signs, and sometimes it takes a wife or a family member to come forward to say, hey, yeah, I think I might need help. How do you guys reach out into your community to try to identify those people,
So one of the things I would definitely say, as far as us, every event that we have, a fundraising event wise, we do everything to include the community. So for perfect example, we have something called Strikeout Suicide. It is actually a softball tournament that we started with the NYPD and Nassau County PD, which is the two locals out here, to play in, just to raise awareness. And it actually has now, 5 years later, turned into 10 different corrections and police departments playing. We honor officers that have, died by suicide. But at the same time, our message for the game is by bringing officers together and standing behind this mission of breaking the stigma. You now have your other officers who will say, oh, you played in this tournament, or, oh, I came to watch you. And if that officer is struggling, it almost tells them in their head that, hey, those 10 guys that were on the field, they're not going to judge me if I'm struggling. So I can probably go to one of them and tell them that something's wrong. So every event that we do, all the way down to like our initiatives, like Cards for Cops, we have kids make officers handmade holiday cards. We collect 10,000 holiday cards every year, and mail them out to the precincts. And it's little things like that, that officers are starting to say, wait, there are people who care. There is an organization out there made up of officers who understands what we're going through. They know that we're completely separate from the job as well. So they feel confident walking through our door or messaging us on Instagram and, saying, hey, look, I need to go to a therapist. I'm really struggling. What can I do? And like I said, the genuine part of all of us is most of the people who reach out to us know us from, standing on a foot post or a detail or something. So we're always kind of having that conversation.
Yeah.
So that's really our best way, is to make events that are fun, but bring people together and share your mission that way, because you really don't ever know who is struggling.
That's correct. That's
absolutely
true. And doing events like that.
Way.
Yeah, if you look behind Rich there, we use, we know that water is therapy, right? And just getting people out. Or I work with another nonprofit here, and they do fly tying for, fly rods for catching tarpon and stuff. Just doing little things, whether it's softball or fishing or being on the water. Get your mind off of that silly stuff. We need to just help everybody work through, you know.
Yep. We actually went on in May, a local charity also that has like a fishing charter. They said, hey, you know, you want to bring some guys out to fish? And we were like, yeah, sure, you know, why not? And 75 guys boarded a boat at 6:45 in the morning and, you know, set sail. And literally I was getting messages the next day saying, you know, thank you so much for letting us just get a day off of work. It literally it's very difficult for a lot of the city guys, especially right now, with the schedule. So just having that time to decompress and just do something fun, even the simplest little thing, it's really what everybody kind of needs at the moment.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So how do you guys, you know, we all raise our right hand, right? Whether it's to support and defend or protect and serve, we all raise our right hand, right? How do you guys make the decision? You know, let's talk about you two. How do you get into what you did to raise that right hand?
Well, I'll let Chris share his story first.
Well, I mean, if you listen to my podcast, I joined the Army out of a hay bale throwing contest, literally.
Kind of similar to what Chris might tell you right about now.
Job on a bet.
Yeah, on a bet. Okay.
It was first, second year of college, what have you. I think it was I forget what it was, but sitting in someone's backyard, and one of my friends at the time, he was in the academy, and he was going through, you know, the motions of his next day or whatever, and you know, I guess I was joking around, making light of it or whatever, and you know, he's saying, no, you know, you can't do it, this, that, and the other, whatever. And I always pictured myself on Wall Street or, you know, something in sports. And, you know, I'm thinking, yeah, no, I could do it, you know, no big deal. I ended up, from the time I took the test to the time I got sworn in was 5 months. Now, back in the day in New York City, people waited years, apparently, to get onto the job from the time they took the test.
Yeah.
So it was a quick process. And I go into the academy. I do well in the academy. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, you know, see how it goes, you know. I was going to school at the time, so I figured I'd use the academy, you know, for college, you know, college credit and what have you, and then, you know, see what happens when, you know, I finish graduating. And it just took off. I was able to make connections with the community. I was able to help fellow cops. I was able to, you know, I just looked for a way to help, you know, improve their overall situation of people. And, you know, 21 years, 2 months later, you know, here we are. This
Thank
charity,
you for your service, sir.
same with the charity. It wasn't intended to be, you know, anything of what it is today. You know, like Michelle was saying, we just wanted to raise some awareness, raise some money, and, you know, do our part. And, you know, we were gonna, you know, because when my friend passed, I spent months, you know, going back and forth in my head and whatnot. And, you know, we had a memorial for him in a local memorial for those who couldn't make it down south for the services. And we decided, you know, there was, you know, his high school friends, his family lived up here, what have you. You know, everybody needed closure.
Yeah.
He was a very popular person up here in town. And so we did that, and then we decided let's do something, you know, that gets some recognition. So you know, we had a couple local media outlets come to the tournament, the game and what have you. And that was supposed to be the end of it. We raised $6,000, I believe it was, our very first event. and we were going to donate it, and then life was going to go on. Life went on all right. So much so that we're in 4 states now.
Yeah.
New York, New Jersey, North Carolina, and California. And like I said, this all really culminated from a backyard bet. So
Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Well, we appreciate your service, and we certainly appreciate you helping others. That's what we need, more people like you guys. How about you, Michelle?
Mine started, my career started a little unorganically and then ended a little differently than I had planned. So I actually was an anti-money laundering investigator prior to becoming a probation officer. So I always wanted to be a probation officer. My cousin was one. My family is all law enforcement. Obviously, Chris, when we met, being the police officer. So I took the test in 2012, and I actually got called 7 years later. So I kind of already had a full-blown career going, and I was given 15 days to make a decision if I was going to go into the academy or if I was going to stay in my career. So I took the really hard choice of leaving corporate America, going into probation. Loved being a probation officer. Sadly, I want to say about 5 months after Chris's friend, Nick, had passed away, I had a little incident at work that kind of changed everything for me. So the saying, like they say, like, you have a plan and God laughs, like that was literally, that was it. Like having a line of duty incident and having health problems that came from it and whatnot, and mental health that kind of kicked up from it. I ultimately actually chose my mental health, and I became a college professor and went back into anti-money laundering. So I was a probation officer for only about 6.5 years. But I will say my 6.5 years of doing it, it was definitely rewarding. It's definitely very different than being a police officer, trying to, rehabilitate and make sure that people are trying to do something with themselves. Because I was a professor, I actually would work with the younger people on probation and those that were in gangs to try to get them their GED to kind of get them off the street and out of the gang.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. My brother-in-law, my sister's husband, has been a probation officer for 20 plus years now. And man,
It's different.
that's some crazy stories. How about you, Rich? You got any questions for these two awesome people?
No, like I said, I'm just very excited to move forward and get involved with everybody and really start to do stuff. So Blake, let's hear your story here. So you're on the job still?
Yeah, absolutely. Been on the job for 10 years. And my story started a little bit different as well. I'll kind of give a little bit of background as far as where things started and how they ended up. For myself personally, I grew up around the fire service. The town that the county that I grew up in was pretty small as far as fire service goes. It was all volunteer. My dad was a volunteer firefighter for as long as I could remember, and really did that up until the point I was in high school. That's really all that we had in the county that I grew up in was volunteer. There is one paid fire station, and it was in the city. And about the time that I hit high school is when they went full-time career mode. They offered my dad a job, and they didn't pay very much, so he had to turn it down. And we, just continued. For him, he continued to volunteer and then just work his day job. But I grew up around the fire service, absolutely loved it. Just have great memories of being on and off the rigs and running calls with my dad. All sorts of fun stuff like that. But I didn't go into the fire service straight out of high school or out of college, anything like that. For myself, I was actually in ministry. So I worked at a church full time. I got an undergrad in psychology, a master's in theological studies, and did that for 8 years. And I volunteered for a couple of years right when I first got married. Really enjoyed that. Like I said, I love the fire service, grew up around it. And I just wanted to be able to give back, and volunteer a little bit. And I tried to go career. It didn't work out. Just really the time that I was trying to get into it around 2009, 2010, the economy really went south. People put hiring freezes everywhere, and they kind of quit hiring, just hung on to the people that they had. But in 2015, I got hired on as a full-time firefighter, and just really loved it. I finally got to start a career that I really had been, seeking to be a part of for a long time. So I left ministry full time and jumped into the fire service. And really, my intentions as I started into the fire service was to make a difference. I didn't know what that was going to be yet, but I really wanted to make a difference in the people that I worked beside, because I knew a lot of what was already going on. Just ways that the career impacts people. But I wasn't super aware of what the mental health aspect looked like on that side of things. So in 2016, I lost a good friend of mine. He was one of my instructors that I had when I was going through the fire academy. Spent a long time at the academy. Our academy was a year long, so I got to see this guy a lot for about 12 months. And Sam was a super great guy, just someone that would always cut up, someone that would always laugh with you, that you could go to and talk to about the job, and I was going to give great advice. And about 6 months into my rookie year, Sam ended up taking his life, and it just really impacted me. I'll never forget where I was when I got the phone call that Sam had taken his life, and really just what that, did to me, in a sense of just kind of how I had to start really asking the questions, what is this? For me, number one, this is the first death that I'd experienced in the fire service of someone that I worked beside. And on top of that, it was a suicide as well. So it really just started making me ask questions of, why did this happen? And I started doing research on it. I started seeing that really the research was coming out, and that there are people in the fire service and really in the first responder service as a whole, that we were having more deaths due to suicide than we were to on the job deaths. And it just really started to make me ask questions, and just kind of do more research on that. And it really just kind of sparked a way for me to start a way to give back. And so Next Rung is a nonprofit, and what we do is we approach the mental health issues of firefighters and first responders. And the way that we do that is through peer support. And then we also, on top of our peer support, we help people get connected back to professional resources. So we have a peer support line that's available 7 days a week. It's nationwide, and it's run by about 36 people that we have on our team, and they're from Hawaii all the way up to New York City. And so we have a rotation of those people who serve every single day. So we have a group of people on, Monday through Sunday, and those are the people who are answering those phone calls and text messages. They are all on the job, or they've retired out or have been medically retired as well, and know and understand, what these people are coming to them with. That was the biggest thing that I kept hearing over and over when it came to our mental health in the fire service and seeking counseling and seeking help, is that these people don't know what we're talking about when we come to them, or they're trying to understand something that they've never heard before. And after having a few conversations with people after we first started Next Rung and started our peer support line, one of the things that I continue to hear is, man, I've made my counselor cry, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. Like, I mean, I can't go back and talk to them at this point. Like, I don't feel like they can help me anymore. So that's why I'm reaching out to you. I want to talk to someone who knows and understands exactly what I'm talking about. And, so that was really for us, what made us start kind of tackling the issue of, going back and seeking professional resources. The peer support aspect is great. Like, that's our first line that we throw out there, because if we can handle it, through us and just talking with the people that call in and want to be a part of someone helping them, then that's our goal. We want them to be able to reach out, be comfortable. And if we can, approach all those things and walk through that just through peer support, that's our goal. But again, through talking with people, what we started seeing is that peer support doesn't always handle the issues that they're coming to us with. They need more help. They need professional help that we can't necessarily provide them, but we can connect them back to. So that's what we started doing. Professional resources as far as counseling or treatment centers. we will help people, get the help that they need. So, no matter where they are in the United States, we will help find a counselor in their area. We will vet them out to make sure they're going to get a good counselor, someone who's culturally competent and understands exactly what they're coming to them with, and has a background in trauma as well, because really it doesn't matter what they are seeking counseling for. We know that trauma is a huge issue, whether we realize it or not, being in the profession that we're in. So we wanted to make sure that they have a good counselor who understands exactly what they need. And then if they need financial assistance, what we do is we will help provide financial assistance for the first cycle of sessions. So, that initial care of them getting in a seat in front of the counselor and saying, I need help. That's our goal for them, is to get their butt in a seat in front of someone so that they can start their road to recovery, with the mental health issues that they have going on. So, and then the same thing with treatment centers. If they are facing addiction, or they're facing, a mental health struggle so big that they need to take a step away from life for about 30 to 45 days, then that's our goal, to help them with that as well, so that they can get the real help that they need, the help that they deserve, and step away and tackle that issue and get it under control before they return back to their everyday life, into a new normal. So that's kind of what Next Rung does in a nutshell. And really what sprung all that is, again, I had a friend that died by suicide, and just really impacted me. My department that year, or over 2 years, we lost 5 guys to suicide just in our department alone, and just made me ask even more questions and just seek a way to be able to give back. So started Next Rung as a t-shirt company. We were just going to sell t-shirts and hats and apparel, and we were going to donate a portion of the profits back, and give to an organization that's doing what we are currently doing at the moment. But the more research that I did, I couldn't find anyone at the time in 2016 that was doing that. So what we decided to do is, my partner, Charlie Brown, he's actually out in California on the West Coast. He works for the city of Glendale. We decided to become a nonprofit, and just put our money where our mouth is, and we wanted to be able to raise awareness and be able to send people somewhere. But we also knew that we needed to have somewhere to send them to. So we decided to start an organization that could help approach those issues of mental health and really make a difference there. So, that's what we've been doing since 2016. We've helped over 1,500 first responders since then, either through peer support or through seeking counseling or treatment centers. And just want to continue to be here to offer that help to all of our brothers and sisters. And again, we're fire service, but we will help any first responder that comes through our helpline, and we're just happy to be able to be here to serve them and walk beside them and get them the help that they deserve, because we've been impacted by the loss of people. We've been impacted by our own mental health struggles, and we know what this job is like. We know what we have to go through, what we experience, and also what our families are, how they're impacted by that as well. So not only do we serve the first responder, but we will serve their spouse and their kids as well.
Well, the reason, and I haven't said this to too many people, but the reason why I got involved with you guys is at 46 years old, I was forced to retire with PTSD on the job through the fire service. They thought I was having heart attacks. I was literally looking at a 12 lead. I still have a copy of the 12 lead, and I was having a heart attack. They rushed me to a cath lab, and they found out I wasn't. And then they explored it, and I went to a bunch of specialists and found out it was PTSD. And that was it. That was the end of my career. So, so this is one of the reasons why I wanted to reach out to you guys, is because I've been through it. And like you just said, Blake, is the way I deal with it is fishing. I had a 12-year-old. I had a disabled detective she was shot, and she had a 12-year-old that wanted to fish, and she couldn't take him fishing, and I had him on my boat all day. And that's basically my therapy. That's what helps me. I've been through every other thing, and this is what works for me. So doing this And in the fire service, I can only talk to the fire service. I was a vice president of the union in Massachusetts. Fire service is way behind the 8 ball when it comes to this stuff. The IFFF, it's just they're way behind when it comes to helping brothers and sisters in the fire service with this problem. So yeah, so I'm privileged to be in the same conversation with you guys, and I can't wait to go forward and do some really cool things. And thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be honest with you, Blake, is I was the guy. I would come from, and Chris, and I know cops do the same thing. I was the guy, and I hate to use old school. I hate that word, but I'm going to use it. I was the guy that would come back from, an MVA or a death in a house fire, and if they bring the critical incident team in, and I was the guy that would skip out. I was the guy that thought if you had to go talk to those guys, you should have been a florist. You shouldn't have been in the industry. Well, I was the guy that was getting affected by that train of thought. And my big thing down here is, and I'd like to try to get a program in the academies. First week, go in and talk to these guys, these kids, and let them know, you're gonna have problems. There's no way you're not gonna have problems, and try to help them on, just to get them to reach out at an early stage of their career. Who knows? I mean, but doing this and meeting people like you guys is my therapy, and I'm blessed. So, thank you for all you guys, what you do and what you've done and what you're going to continue to do. And I'm excited to be a part of it, and I'm excited to be, reeling freedom and get you guys all on board.
Yeah, it's really good to hear those stories. And I say it all the time. And here's the message I want to send out, right? Like I said before, we all raised our right hand. And whether you support and defend the Constitution or protect and serve a community, we are all dealing with the same issues, the same. Who wants to be a cop these days? Who is rushing to the recruiter to be a police officer or a firefighter these days? It's hard, and it takes special guys like you to do that. And here's the difference, right? I did 6 trips to the desert after 9/11, and none of those trips were over 6 months long. When you guys go to work, you guys were working every single day. You didn't have red cycles and come back and take a break from the fighting. That's the difference. And I say that about the U.S. Coast Guard that keeps us safe on the water. Their mission is every single day. At least we got breaks. So I just want the people that are listening, we have to support our police officers and firefighters out there. They're doing probably more than what our military community is doing.
And the military, absolutely. A lot of these firefighters and police officers are in the military. They come, they leave their job from NYPD or Georgia Fire, or and they go away on a stint, and then they come back to their job. So it's we're all in this together, military and police and firefighters. It's we're all in this together.
Yeah, we'd love to. I do a little, I do have a day job. I'm a satellite engineer, and I do some traveling around a little bit. If I'm in your area, I'd love to give you a call and maybe go have a beer or come to one of your events. But thanks for talking to us. We'll start with Michelle and Chris. How do people get a hold of you guys, and where do they go to find your information?
So people can find us either on our website, beyondthebadgeny.org. But a lot of people, beyondthebadgeny.org. A lot of people will reach out to us for, just like how Blake said, we offer referrals as well for therapy and stuff. So people will reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook. The biggest thing with police officers, they don't want people to know who they are. So on Instagram, I will get a ton of messages from different people that have like maybe cartoon faces and random names. But I always know who is NYPD versus the other police departments, because NYPD spits out a whole bunch of different numbers and codes that every other police department out here does not have. So they can reach us on social media. We have a storefront in Massapequa Park. I mean, they can legitimately just walk in as well. So come visit us in Massapequa Park, hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, or just through our website.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate your service and we appreciate what you're doing. Well,
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Now, how do people get a hold of you, Mr. Blake?
Yeah, same way. It's through Instagram, Facebook, through our website, nextrung.org. And all of our information is there. We have a store on there. All the apparel that we sell, all the money just goes back to continue to further our mission and, continue to fund people to receive counseling or to receive a visit to a treatment center. But yeah, we're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and through our website. And Gene, man, I just want to say too, because I think you brought up something interesting, and I just wanted to piggyback off that as far as of how we're exposed. And a lot of people don't know this and don't understand really, whether they're military or they are in, the first responder services. But like you're saying, the military aspect of it, most time is pretty acute. It's a short time, it's an interval, and then they have a break, and then they go back, depending on how many tours that they do. But for the first responder services, no matter how you serve, whether that's police, fire, EMS, any of those things, it's such a long-term issue over a career of really between 20 to 35 years is what we're seeing. A lot of people work, and then all that cumulative trauma is just something that continues just to compound on top of itself. So, like Rich said, I mean, he was towards the end of his career, when a lot of those things started happening, and, just want to be able to help people see that and understand, what that looks like.
Absolutely. One of my best friends that I fish with here in Florida is a retired Las Vegas firefighter, and his wife was a police officer out there, and it didn't even dawn on me what some of the things that they went through. Just amazing. Yeah. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate your service, and I will definitely look you up when I'm in your area.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate your time, and I'm excited on what the future holds for us, and we'll get you all involved in what we're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'll leave it at that. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Tin can 22 is on the ground. Tin can 22 heavy, turn right at 10 Heavy Dixon, Mike, contact ground.